Hi guys, welcome back. So today we've got this 8V2 RS3 in for a full Stage 2 upgrade package. But before we get into it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, also notification bell, and you won't miss any of our new videos go live. So yeah, full Stage 2 package on this car. So we're going to be installing the Stage 2 ECU software alongside DSG software. So we're going to optimize the fuel and ignition boost, all the other maps inside the ECU, to optimize obviously power and torque, so to make the most out of the hardware that we're installing on the car, and the DSG software as well to increase the clamping pressure, torque limits, all that kind of stuff, improve shift time, improve drivability, to go alongside the huge increase in power and torque we're going to be applying to this car. So hardware wise, we're installing a Milltek downpipe to match up to the factory sports exhaust, and then we've got a Forge Motorsport intercooler, Forge turbo inlet hose, and a Forge hard intake pipe which goes from that inlet hose to the airbox as well. So yeah, next step is to get the car on the dyno, see what power it's making standard, and then we'll get it in the workshop after it's been in the dyno to install the hardware, walk you through the hardware, and then we're going to, at the end of the video, do a comparison of the exhaust sounds standard, what it came in with, versus with the Milltek downpipe, and then a comparison of the power before and after as well. So I'll see you in the workshop in a little bit. Okay, so we've got the RS3 on the ramps behind us. You would have seen the baseline road runs we did a little bit earlier on. So you see the standard power and the standard torque that we're starting off with before we install the hardware upgrades and then the ECU software, and we compare that a little bit later on. So we've got a couple of the parts here in front of us. We've got the Forge intercooler and the Milltek downpipe. We're still waiting on the intake hose and the hard pipe to arrive. So once that arrives, we will walk you through those parts as well. But for now, we'll walk you through these parts. So we've got the Forge Motorsport intercooler. So this is a significantly larger intercooler than standard. Basically, the reason why you upgrade the intercooler is when you increase the boost pressure, it basically introduces more heat into the compressed air. And the only way to remove that is by fitting a larger intercooler. So by fitting a larger intercooler, we can have a lower charge temperature, and basically it allows us to increase the horsepower and torque more, adjust the maps inside the ECU and all that stuff. So we'll show you the standard intercooler. The standard intercooler is actually a bit of a joke. So even on standard cars, you can see a massive increase, or not a massive increase, but a tangible increase in how the car feels, power, torque, that kind of stuff. We've installed an aftermarket intercooler. So this intercooler from Forge is 54% larger frontal area, about 94% larger core volume as well. So it really helps to dissipate the heat. Not pictured here is the crash bar upgrade. So basically fits a different crash bar to the vehicle to allow us to install the intercooler, because the intercooler is that much larger. It's a normal thing on these cars. If you want to install a bigger intercooler, pretty much have to install an aftermarket crash bar. And then we've got the catted Milltek downpipe here. So obviously the biggest restriction on a turbo car in the exhaust system is usually the factory exhaust system, especially the cat. So with the Milltek downpipe, basically removing the biggest restriction directly after the turbo, so it allows the turbo to spool a bit faster, reduce the EGTs, reduce the back pressure, to allow us to obviously make the most out of that with the ECU software. The reason why we're installing a catted downpipe is on these cars, they have sort of like quite a bad like metallic wastegate rattle sound if you go without a cat in the downpipe. So that's why we recommend going with a cat in the downpipe to basically reduce that noise. The noise is always there on a standard car, it's just it's way more audible without a cat in the exhaust. So it's better to sort of like keep that down a little bit with installing the sports cat. So we're going to get these couple of bits fitted, and then once the intake hard pipe and the intake hose arrives, we will walk you through those as well. Okay, so we've fitted the Forge intercooler and the Milltek downpipe, and the intake parts are arrived, so I'm just going to talk you through those now. So we've got the Forge turbo inlet hose and then the Forge intake pipe. So the Forge intake hose goes from the turbocharger to the intake pipe. So basically eliminates a really restrictive part. So this pipe here has about 60% more volume than the factory item, so we can obviously flow a lot more air through. Forge quote that this can gain by itself on a tuned car around 20 horsepower. And at the time of ordering, you can also order it with a selection of different CNC machined turbo fittings. So you can fit the standard turbo or some of the popular aftermarket ones like the TTE turbos. And then moving on to the intake pipe, the factory pipe is a 70mm outer diameter, and then this one is a 89mm. So basically eliminates the final restriction on the intake path, other than the standard paper element air filter. So yeah, going to get both of these parts fitted and then see you on the dyno a little bit later on. Okay, so back on the dyno, the RS3, after flashing the RSS Stage 2 ECU software. So that ECU software is for cars with like high flow downpipes to obviously remove the check engine light in relation to emissions, and also optimizes it for all the other upgrades on the car. Like this car has the Forge Motorsport turbo inlet hose, also the intake pipe, as well as the Milltek downpipe. So yeah, we've basically custom tuned the car to get the most sort of like horsepower and torque out of it. You'll notice behind me we've only got the modified horsepower and torque on this particular model. The reason being is that the standard power graphs are actually measured in a different gear, so we can't really compare the graphs fairly. So we thought we just wouldn't bother bringing up the graph, because otherwise the curves would be totally different, because obviously it's in a different gear. So yeah, so we've got the graphs behind me. So these cars should make around about 370 to 390 horsepower, depending on the dyno standard, and between sort of 370 to 390 foot-pounds of torque, again depending on what sort of dyno you're on. So this car is leaving us today with just over 510 horsepower and about 580 foot-pounds of torque, so a massive increase in torque and horsepower. So actually this car is making around about 250 foot-pounds more than Audi report, and also around 140 horsepower more than Audi report as well. So massive gains all the way across the rev range. And I mean, this car is actually making sort of like standard reported power by Audi around 3,500 RPM. So everything above that is just pure horsepower gains. So the car's gonna be completely different to drive. So up next, we have the exhaust comparison. So the RS3 with the Audi Sport exhaust versus what it's leaving us with today, which is the Milltek high flow downpipe and the Audi Sport exhaust. So let us know what you think. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, then please give us a thumbs up. If you'd like to watch other videos of ours that YouTube thinks you'll like, then click up here. If you'd like to watch some other videos that we have in the same playlist, then click here. And obviously if you enjoyed the video, then we really appreciate if you gave us a subscription. And then obviously you'll be updated when other videos of ours go live, and you can do that quite easily by clicking here. Hope to see you soon.